Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TARDIS Zone. Now, before we start this live stream, and I'm going to have a little guest popping in with me that watched the movie. I'm just going to let you know now there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched The Suicide Squad by James Gunn, I suggest that you leave now. I don't want to influence your decisions when watching this movie because that's not what we're here for. We're here to give our opinions on the movie. That's it. So if you haven't seen The Suicide Squad and plan to watch it, this stream is not for you. But I had to stream because it's still fresh in the memory. I wish I could take those 2 hours back. Yeah, that's how bad it was, folks. There are people out there that are praising this, saying it was laugh out loud funny and all of this. I don't know where they're coming from, to be quite honest. I was even saying to Cheryl when we were watching it, I says, have we changed? Because I thought it was us. I said, have we changed? And she made a very good point. She says, if this was a Doctor Who episode, we would go with the flow. But this was the Suicide Squad. And yeah, I was so looking forward to this movie, right? I'm sending the email now. Biggest letdown. Seriously, man. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, right? But I said this to Cheryl. And Cheryl will give her opinion. But I even said I'd watch the first Suicide Squad movie over this one. Yeah. And I don't even like the first movie. I like the extended cut, but the original release that we got, never liked it. But even that was better than this rubbish. We'll get into it. I've sent an email now. I'm going to close the doors because we don't want double interference. So we'll get into it when Cheryl comes on, because it's Cheryl that's joining me, because as you know, Cheryl is less critical of movies and TV shows than I am. And you know, the fact that we wait to hear from Cheryl, I'm telling you, this movie was a disappointment. And I know there's going to be loads from the fandom menace that are going to say this is great. And that's their opinion, but maybe they've let their standards drop. Maybe they have. But my standards are still very high. And I expected a lot more from this movie. I mean, the enemy was a fucking starfish from space. A starfish from space. Right? Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I said this last night. The Fixer one makes a good point. I think we have come to the point where these movies are done. And what I mean by that is we've had 11 glorious years of superhero, anti-superhero movies, whatever you want to call them. I think they're running out of steam now. I have sent Cheryl the email. I doubt she's probably setting up, so we'll wait for her, but I'll just keep talking until she comes in. Till she comes into the studio. But Peter Capaldi, you know, if you were to watch all the interviews that he's done, you think he's in this movie for a long time. He's in 4 scenes, and in 2 of them he gets to talk. He was wasted. Cheryl actually said if you take his character out, it wouldn't make a difference to the script. And it literally wouldn't. That's how bad it was. Look, I'm sorry. I know people out there, right, are going to say this movie is great. And I can't help but think that people have let their standards drop. Even looking at some of the comments on IMDb, they're saying it's laugh out loud, funny and all it. No, it wasn't. There was a bit of banter between John Cena and Idris at the start. That was pretty good. Do you know what the best part of this movie was? Best part of this movie was Harley Quinn. She had the best scenes in this movie. She even has a fight scene in it. That gets ruined then, right, for me. Now, I know Carly is crazy and all. They do that. And when she's killing people, flowers are flying everywhere and birds are, because she's supposed to be kooky. But we already know she's kooky. You don't need that shit. Apparently, they did it for Birds of Prey. I won't watch Birds of Prey. But my guest that's coming on actually thinks Birds of Prey was a better movie, right? Now, there's a lot of people out there that don't like Birds of Prey, as we know. But she's saying this Birds of Prey is better than this movie, then look, we're in trouble here. Because Cheryl, like myself, was looking forward to this movie. I'll just say the movie starts off as if it's in the middle of a movie, right? So it literally starts off in the middle of the movie. Half of the Suicide Squad dies straight away, right? I get that because it's a Suicide Squad, but favorite characters of mine were dying off straight away, and I was like, "Rrr!" Right? But we'll bring on Cheryl because it'll be interesting to get her take, right? But we'll bring her on.
How will it be interesting to get my take when you've already told everyone all my feelings?
No, not my feelings. They were my feelings.
You said Cheryl said this, Cheryl said that.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. You can actually
Yeah, but don't shush.
Right, go on. Tell them how you felt about this movie.
Well, I had a whole thing I was going to say, and you kind of
and you can still say it. Just go on. Just say what you have to say, woman.
Yeah, I will, but stop talking.
Right, I'm gonna have a smoke. Go ahead.
Okay, then. So Noel got this great idea about 5 or 6 a.m. He's like, "Oh, let's watch the Suicide Squad." I'm like, "Oh man, I was gonna watch that, but I was."
No, she's gone.
I was gonna wait till later.
Cheryl, you're putting off.
What? So, a couple days ago, I decided to watch Birds of Prey because I wanted to see if it was really that bad. And I made a point to come out and say, like, I was really disappointed because I wanted everyone to be wrong that it wasn't such a bad movie. But it was like, it had its moments, and Margot Robbie is always delightful. And I don't have anything necessarily to say about any of the characters except Ewan McGregor, who played the supervillain in it, like overacted beyond belief. It was painful. Matter of fact, it took me forever to realize who it was because the acting was so shit. And I was like, oh, it's disappointing. I mean, it was fine, but maybe I just wasn't in a good mood. I don't know. But no, it was really bleh. And then so last night or this morning, really early, Noel's like, yeah, let's watch this. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Tired, but I really want to watch it. And I'm all excited. We start watching it. And he actually says it out loud, but I'm thinking in my head, have we started the movie like 20 minutes late? Did it not start on time? Like, did something get cut off? I'm really confused. Yeah. Then they kept doing the weird a couple minutes ago, now in the future, now, blah, blah, and having scenery, you know, I mean, it's creative, don't get me wrong, to say like 3 hours earlier, 3 days earlier, 8 minutes ago or whatever. But it was just jarring because you're trying to figure out what's happening in this kind of shit show of a script, which I got to tell you, I told Noel at the end that probably there were maybe 20 minutes, not consecutive, 20 minutes of good parts, interesting parts, fight scenes, dialogues, whatever. You know what? I will say this. I will say I liked the action scenes of Birds of Prey. It made it a little bit more interesting because, again, it was real chaotic. And I understand Harley Quinn's chaotic and she's an unreliable narrator and stuff. But on the Suicide Squad, she's not an unreliable narrator because we're seeing everything from everyone else. And, yeah, Birds of Prey was definitely better. And I'm going to tell you, the original Suicide Squad was
better.
So much better. I am going to duct tape your mouth.
Yeah, it was though. I agree. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I literally hate that first movie. I watched the extended cut. It's slightly better for me, but I was expecting this movie to be 10 times better than what we'd actually gotten. And Cheryl is right. There's 20 minutes of good footage in this, and it's not even consecutive. Some of the fight scenes are great. As I said, for me, the best part of this whole movie is Harley Quinn. She really shines in this movie. She has some of the best scenes in it. Actually, she kills a shit ton of people in this movie.
It's very brutal. I will admit it. It's brutal and stuff, but then I don't know. It was kind of all trying to recapture the comedy and stuff. And then there was great banter between John Cena and Idris Elba. The two of them, their interaction, hilarious. I have no complaints about Harley Quinn. Every scene she was in, she nailed. Even minor characters that aren't really well known, Polka Dot Man and King Shark and everything. I was really amazed with the Peter Capaldi thing because it was almost more of like a long cameo. I swear I'm gonna duct tape your mouth. So yeah, no, the thought's gone now. Go ahead.
I said it was like a cameo, Peter Capaldi. Like the way they'd framed the movie, you think he's in this movie a lot. He's not. He's in 4 scenes, and as I said, spoilers. If you haven't watched it, leave, because I'm about to spoil something right now. Literally, right? They find him, they bring him to this place, and then he gets torn apart. Now he does have a couple of talking scenes, as I said, and when he does talk, he is absolutely brilliant. But as Cheryl said, and Cheryl will continue after this when I make this point, but he didn't need to be in this movie. If you removed him from the script, it wouldn't make a difference. And it was his character was completely wasted. Completely wasted. Cheryl, would you like to add something on Peter Capaldi's appearance in this movie?
Well, I mean, you just said what I said, so no, I don't. I don't know what else to say. He wasn't in it long enough. Whatever scene he was in, he was brilliant. He played a great villain. He was. I mean, he was great in his scenes. It's just, it literally could have been anyone. It could have been any other actor, and it would have had the same impact. I mean, no offense against Peter Capaldi. I mean, it would have had the same impact whoever they had, because the part wasn't big enough to get sucked into it. And it was kind of that way with all the characters, because James Gunn made a point to cast characters that weren't really well known, like second or even third, fourth version characters. You're trying to figure out, like, what is actually their motivation? What is this person? I mean, they gave you bare minimum about it. But at first, when I watched the first Suicide Squad, I thought maybe they were spending too much time at the beginning giving you the background on the characters, but it really made you connect with them. I didn't fucking feel anything about any of these new characters until, I don't know, maybe the last third of the movie. And I'm probably being generous there, because there was nothing to have any connection. You didn't know about their backstory. I mean, you don't really know what was going on with Polka Dot Man. His powers still don't make any sense to me. And the thing was, and Noel will tell you, but he'll back me up on this, that after I watch movies, I always go and I look up trivia, and I research characters I don't really know about and stuff like that. I couldn't have been asked. I sat the whole movie just kind of waiting to see how much longer it was. And it was super disappointing because I was so excited, and it just didn't have it. Like I said, I can't fault any of the actors. The script was just, it was boring. When it was interesting, it was super interesting, but there were these big gaps, and all I kept thinking about with the starfish was that it just reminded me of the 11th Hour with the big giant alien eye. It was like a Godzilla level kind of effect. It was just weird. It was just a weird movie that I couldn't get into. And I liked Wonder Woman 1984. I mean, I would say that is a far superior movie. Just, I don't know where they were going with it. Because I know, like in Deadpool, you know, they do the, hold on, we got to back it up and stuff. But they actually made it make sense. It flowed well with Deadpool, maybe because of the narration. I don't know. Same thing with Birds of Prey, maybe because of Harley's narration. But Suicide Squad not having that it just was, for lack of a better word, jarring, because you never really actually were sure what was going on, what was happening, what was the point of it, what was the point of them. And honestly, for the most part, I couldn't have given a shit if any of the characters died. Now I'm done.
Yeah, that's the thing. You couldn't get connected to any of these characters. I mean, King Shark had some good moments, but again, you don't really see much of King Shark really, because he's doing silly stuff. As I said, Harley has the best scenes in this movie. John Cena, I was worried about him in the movie.
He was. I will give him a clap for that. He nailed douchebag Captain America, as he calls it. Peacemaker was his character. He was just obnoxious and snarky and everything, but he has good comedic timing, and I had forgotten that. I was pleasantly surprised with him. And especially his banter with Idris Elba, because John Cena is so America, and Idris Elba is just like distinguished Englishness, and it worked so perfectly because they were both such shit talkers with egos, and it was actually very, very funny. And you know what? I didn't give a shit about Rick Flag in this movie. I actually didn't.
Yeah, I did now, but again, even and spoilers here, even the way he goes out in this movie is ridiculous. Everything about it is ridiculous. Look, even the same with Idris' character, where he's in the tower and then the floor starts giving in, it drops to the next level and the next level. It was just stupid. It was stupid. By the way, Space Starfish, right, was the villain, you might as well say, in this movie. The way it was framed, I thought it was going to be Peter Capaldi. Right?
Yeah.
It turns out to be this starfish thing, right? Absolutely ridiculous. Then what happens is that they go to this country, right, where the royal family is bound, the president and his family is hung, right? Then the general takes over. Harley shoots the general. Then another general takes over, right? He gets killed, and then the main general then takes over. They kill animals in this as well, by the way. The best scene for me, though, out of the whole, I know Harley had the best scenes, but when King Shark picked up someone, he tore someone literally in half. And that scene looked epic, right? It did. That scene did look epic. As I said, I had some moments in it. But for me, and Cheryl, I think, said it last night as well, 20 minutes of good footage and the rest just seemed like filler.
Does everyone die in the end? Most people. No, I don't think Capaldi is in it for more than 10 minutes. I mean, it's not 10 minutes straight either. He's got a few minutes each. It's almost like in Infinity War when everyone had just a little bit of it in there. And I will say, Daniel said he doesn't really like the group comic book movies. And I do, because I like the interaction and stuff. But this just felt weird. Like, I guess because you were thrown into it and you were trying to make sense of everything. But the characters, by the time you started to care about them, that was when the movie became interesting. And then it was almost over. And then it kind of got stupid and hokey at the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and the only reason I think that at the final end credit scene with the Peacemaker is maybe they're thinking of including him or something, which was fine. He was great. But, I mean, if you were going to save him, fucking save everyone else, because what was the point of it? I felt like I would have rather done most other things than watch the movie. And I can't even tell you how disappointed I am about that, because I have been bigging this up. And it wasn't the typical thing, like when you get super excited about a movie and then you see it and then you're like, oh crap, it didn't live up to my expectations because you made it so much bigger. That wasn't what I did. I was just excited to see it. And like I said, I enjoyed Suicide Squad. So that was my bar. That was my bar. And then everyone going like, oh, it's so much better. And then I'm looking, while we're watching it, I'm looking through IMDb, looking at user ratings. I'm like, who the fuck is rating this with 9s and 10s and even 8s? I literally was annoyed. I couldn't understand it. I told Noel I would maybe give it a 5, and I thought I was being generous. And now today I'm thinking maybe a 3.5. It was just, it was a waste of an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they do give some of the characters, Rat Girl, wherever she is, Rat Girl.
Too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. They kind of do give a backstory to her character. Basically, her father's a heroin addict. He teaches her how to summon the rats, and then he dies of an overdose. Then when she's a kid, then she goes to America, and then she gets done for robbing a bank because apparently the rats are classed as a weapon. So that's how she gets sent to prison. Pretty weak, if you ask me. Peacemaker, yeah. I will say one thing about John Cena's character. I do agree with John. If he's going to have his own HBO series, I can understand it. Maybe that's why we got that end credit scene at the end where he's lying in the hospital bed.
Yeah, I just see that now, but
but in fairness, I don't think it'll work. While he was good in this movie, I don't think he can carry a series. His character is not strong enough. I mean, the start of the movie is weird. So, a woman, Viola Davis's character, sends 2 Suicide Squad teams in, but they don't know about each other. One of the side gets massacred completely, right? And she kills one of them for trying to swim away. Then the other team that's headed by Idris is basically they're going. So she uses the force team as a distraction, so they can get onto the beach and go and infiltrate this general's headquarters. It was just, listen, the start of this movie again. It was like you were halfway into the movie, the way it started. And I thought it was going to be good. It starts off with a Johnny Cash song, always. And I'm not just saying this, but any movie that starts off with a Johnny Cash song is normally a decent movie. This ain't a decent movie. I'm not messing. Look, I know I'm harsh, right, on movies, but I'm even going to say this movie was not good. Suicide Squad, the first movie that we got that everybody complains about, right? I complained about it as well. Don't rate it very highly. Is a better movie.
Not only that, I still can't imagine, like, I had completely forgotten. This is how bad it is. I completely forgotten about the first team, the decoy team, because it was so weird that now I just remember, I'm like, wait a minute. Harley was in the decoy team and Rick Flag. So they had literally sent them to their deaths. Yeah. And then Harley winds up with the other guys. But this is just a weird list. So I'm looking at just the user reviews, right? And I'm just going to read some of the headlines only, nothing else. And I don't know what movie they were watching. 8 out of 10, the real Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad. 9 out of 10, The Suicide Squad, a movie filled with life and colors. 9 out of 10, it's very much a sequel. 8 out of 10, exceeded my expectations. 9 out of 10, the best DCEU movie. No. 8 out of 10, great. 8 out of 10, the dumbest squad just made the greatest DCEU film ever. 10 out of 10, surpassed my every expectation and then some. 8 out of 10, wild and bloody spectacle. Here's one that I would believe. 5 out of 10, forced jokes didn't land for me. I enjoyed parts of the film. Yes. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, must watch. Had an amazing experience. Like 10 out of 10, just wow. 10 out of 10, best DCEU movie since Wonder Woman. No.
Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman's a better movie. No, absolute joke. Look, I don't know what it is, right? But to me, it seems like that people have lowered their standards, right? This movie is not good enough, right? It's not. If this was back in the day when we were in full flow of the Marvel and DC universes, full flow, I mean, a few years back, this movie would be criticized and panned. It would, right? I am baffled by those scores, to be quite honest with you. It's not a 9 out of 10 movie or a 10 out of 10 movie. It's not even a 5 out of 10 movie. It was that bad. I think people have lowered their expectations or have lowered their standard. I mean, we got people out there saying that Tomorrow War is absolutely brilliant. I watched it. It's like the Fast and the Furious franchise, right? Dumb. You don't need to use your head. And this is what this felt like with this movie as well. You didn't need to use your brain, you know?
I feel like they're making movies to create streaming shows. It's like they're creating a movie to set up characters for a streaming show. Yeah. And that's not the way to do it, because if I want to watch them, you know what? When Daredevil came out on Netflix, I still think it's the best of the Marvel Netflix ones. And then I would say second would be Jessica Jones. And those are so far superior than what we watched. A matter of fact, the Daredevil crossover movie that I'm blanking on the name on the Netflix special, where they, it was like a couple episodes where all the characters were together. Luke and Iron Fist and all of them. I kind of felt like that wasn't that great, but it was so, I mean, I'm struggling to find something, because like I said, I can't criticize any of the actors. Whatever they were fun, they were good. They were believable. I'm not mad at any of them. Thank you, the Defenders. Yes, I was like, God, why can't I think of it? It's because lawyer terms, duh. But it was so, it was just all over the place, but not in a good way. Because you know how, like, I will say this, Birds of Prey at first, I was like, this is all over the place. I don't get it. But it did come together. I never felt like this really came together. I felt like it was a whole bunch of mini character movies that were smushed together. Like Daniel was saying, like, he thinks that they are so the group comic movies are too contrived. This was too contrived. Like, this was exactly why people like Daniel and others don't enjoy group comic book movies, because you can't get into the flow and the dynamic, because you're trying to spend all this time on equal characters and giving everyone this, that, and the next thing. And I did love Infinity War and Civil War and stuff, but I will say the last two of the Avengers movies were probably my least favorite, because there was so much going on and everyone got minimal screen time. And on this, even though some of the characters had a lot more screen time, you were just like, okay, but let's go. You're just trying to hurry the movie along or make sense of it. And I'm actually befuddled by the people that think this is some sort of cinematic masterpiece and needs awards and stuff, because, oh my God, I would rather watch, you know what? Wonder Woman 1984. I'll watch that all day long. And I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, this is not a movie that I actually see myself ever going back and watching again. And I'm really disappointed. I can't explain how disappointed I am. It's like how I felt with the final series of How I Met Your Mother, or the final episode of Seinfeld, or so. You're just like, why? Just why?
Yeah.
I'm so spaghetti about it.
Look, here's the thing, right? I can guarantee you what will happen is that there'll be an extended cut of this movie that'll probably explain more background and give us more stuff. But they should have done that
from the get-go.
They should have done that. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. But they should be doing that from the get-go. Look, at this movie, the reason why I wanted to watch is because as a Doctor Who fan, I was very looking forward to seeing what Peter Capaldi was going to do in this movie, because, he'd left Doctor Who and then we found out that he was doing this movie, and, there was excitement amongst the Doctor Who fans, especially those who love Peter Capaldi, to see him in this movie. And I have to say, James Gunn, you're an absolute disgrace, man. You wasted a talented actor. You give him like 10 minutes. 10 minutes in 4 different scenes, and 2 of them are talking scenes, right? And that's it.
He didn't have that much to do in it. Like, his character was, you don't understand the motivation. I don't know what the point of him was.
No.
And the thing is most of the people that watch this stuff are not comic book. I mean, there are those people, but a lot of the people are like me that know some of the comic book stuff, but basically got into it when they really started making movies like Iron Man and all that. So you're like, yeah, okay, I'm into it. Or you grew up watching Wonder Woman on television, the $6 Million Man. You're like, yeah, this is my jam and stuff. But I think the thinker was his part. And I'm like, was he created? I don't know what the point was.
Yeah.
It was shocking to see him wasted like that. And a matter of fact, I was thinking like this, Nathan Fillion, why did he get top billing? Who the shit was he? Fucking died in the first 2 minutes. I don't even remember anything about him. I don't remember his character's name or anything.
Oh, his character was bleeding ridiculous, man. He could literally detach his arms, right? And his arms flew off and started slapping people. And then they shot his arms, and then he's on the ground rolling around because his arms are being shot. It was absolutely ridiculous. Polka dot guy, while no sense to him, and every time then his power was basically he shoot polka dots, but he gets angry when he sees his mammy's face, and his mammy happens to be a Karen, a big giant Karen. Oh man, it was.
Yeah, well, what we get from them telling us, what we get from the background information is that his mom was dedicated to make all of their siblings superheroes. But we still don't understand like how he got that power and how it works and stuff. I mean, it was a cool effect. Don't get me wrong. It was lovely to watch, but I don't know it. And I would say Idris Elba would have been completely wasted too if he hadn't had so much screen time and dialogue. But I was trying to think of the best way to explain this feeling. And I don't know. Remember that time you made an absolute lovely dinner and I was all excited. I had my plate and then I dropped it.
Yeah.
And I cried because I was like, oh, I really wanted to eat that. Oh. Yeah. That's how I felt with this. It was sort of like you had like this amazing meal in front of you that you're like, yeah, I'm going to tuck into this. You get like a bite and then you drop it and you're like, no. It's how little kids feel when their balloon flies away. It's just, oh, fuck it. No.
There was a good scene in it though that I liked. It was funny actually. Well, not funny, but it was a good scene where they go into the rebel camp. Do you remember? And they kill all the bleeding rebels, and then your woman. How were my men not alerted? And then King Shark spits out a finger, right?
Yeah. And they're all like, I didn't see one now.
The whole lot of them are being massacred. That was a good scene. Like the action scenes in it weren't too bad, right? I'm not going to lie.
But it seems so weird. Like the whole thing is they've got it with the Civil War. I mean, I understand the part of it is that there's a Civil War, so they're taking advantage of the opportunity that the government has created this horrible technology. And they're going to steal it back so no one knows about it. You know, it's a very common trope. Like the government's done something bad, so they send people in to cover their butts, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it was just, I think they focused so much on the war of the country that it took away from like what they were like. You're like, right, but they're there to do this. I understand that they're connected, but it just, for lack of a better phrase, I felt like it just didn't flow. Everything felt forced, with the exception of, like I said, the interaction between the actors. Like, I don't feel like the dialogue felt forced. People that were saying that, I thought that the jokes that were there were legitimately funny. I actually do. I mean, I think the one-liners were great. I think the deadpan humor was great. I think the over-the-top humor was great. It's just, for whatever reason, it didn't work together. It's like if you have amazing ingredients to make something, but they all don't go together. Like, you can have, prawns are lovely, steaks lovely. You can have, it's just like when you watch MasterChef and you're like, why the fuck did they put that together? Who who would put that in their potatoes or whatever? You're just like, why would you do that? That's a stupid combination of flavors. And that's what it felt like. It felt like someone just got crazy in the spice aisle and just was like, let's get a shit ton of spices and throw it in there. And you're like, okay, well, it's not really bad. It's just weird. But at the end, you're like, yeah, no, that really didn't sit well. I'm going to go be sick now. It was just a massive disappointment for me.
I know that Starfish is featured in some comics, right? Because I'm looking at it there now. It has featured in comics. But here's my problem, right? And I said this last night. There are franchises that I believe that don't translate well on the big screen. One of them would be the Hulk movies. They did 2 of them, and they weren't well received, right? When he's in an assembled cast, Hulk works. I think it's the same. Suicide Squad for me is one of those personally. Now, I know Cheryl has a different opinion on this, but I don't think that this franchise translates well on screen. We've had 2 movies now, and if I'm honest, both movies were disappointing. But this one is worse. That's where I stand on it. I honestly believe that this movie does not. The Suicide Squad doesn't translate well on a live action screen. Maybe do animation and it'd probably work. Because this, I'm going to show you a picture of this starfish. Even the colors, it just, for me, it doesn't. These type of things don't belong in a live action movie. You could do these in an animated movie, but no.
Not only that, but if you're making a comic book movie that you're trying to appeal to the masses, you need to make sure that you're not so far ingrained in the comics that everyone else is lost. Yeah. And I felt like that was part of the problem, is because they used obscure characters, but they didn't really give you any chance to really understand their background. So you didn't really feel a connection toward them. Like I don't even remember all of the characters at the very beginning. Like All right,
here it is anyway. So this is you've seen this image, right? That's the start. So that's the starfish, right? So it came from outer space. And it's even stupid, right? The whole concept, because I'll tell you why, right? So they're on the space shuttle and they captured this thing. And they haven't even got it in quarantine, the astronauts, right? And they're playing with it and taking photographs with it. And then obviously then it takes out what I say, the face huggers, right? So they have starfish face huggers then that start latching onto their face, right? The American government get their hands on it, but then they go to a different country because they can't experiment with it in their country because it violates all different laws. So they go to this country, right? The country where this dictator president is living. So what happens is a civil war breaks out and the Americans basically send in the Suicide Squad, or Viola Davis's character sends them in knowing that the Americans are actually the ones behind all of this. They've been to, and Peter Capaldi's character, the Tinker, is supposed to be experimenting on all of these people, but we don't see much of that. We see he walks into his lab and then you see all the people that he's experimented on, and that's it. That's all we get. Then he gives a big speech and then he says it's the Americans, and they don't believe him at first, but then obviously John Cena's character is a bit of a snake in this movie, and then it's revealed that the Americans are behind this. But it was absolute, look, that's ridiculous looking. I'm sorry, it's in the comics and I get it, right? But not for a movie. You don't do this villain starfish for a live action movie. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And then coming out of its armpits is little feckin' starfish, and then they just latch on to people. It was just, I just found the whole thing.
Here's a trivia comment from IMDb. Peter Safran is quoted as saying, "First of all, we don't call it Suicide Squad 2 because it's a total reboot. So it's the Suicide Squad." And I think people should be extremely excited about it. It's everything you would hope from a James Gunn script. And I think that says a lot and that promises a lot. And I know that we will deliver a lot. However, with a few of the main cast reprising their characters, it's more like a soft reboot. But it also didn't.
Well, Tom Bardot,
it wasn't everything. It was, he says he describes it as 1970s war movie action comedy, but it.
I don't know where he's getting that from, but look at even Thumper dies in the first few minutes. Some of the original Suicide Squad that were in the first movie die straight away.
Boomerang.
She basically sends them in to be killed.
Yeah.
So the other team, they're the decoy team. She sends the decoy team in that includes Harley Quinn, Weasel, but there is a little bit at the end with Weasel. So you think Weasel is dead, and then like he coughs and water comes out of his mouth, and then he runs off into the forest. Like he doesn't even feature in the movie that much. And I would have loved to see a lot more of Weasel personally in the movie. I think he would have been better than some of the characters that they focused heavily on. Weasel would have been great. Yeah, man, Michael Rooker, he's in the movie. I thought, oh, brilliant. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy. This is going to be great. He gets killed. She blows his bleeding head off because he wants to swim away from the massacre, and she's saying, "You better not." Right, and she blows his bleeding head off. Look, I'm not. Look, I am critical of movies. I really am. I do have high expectations, but even this, I would watch the fourth one.
And Noah will tell you that he thinks I enjoy movies that are crap, and yeah, like I said, it was just. I just feel sad now. I feel sad and let down.
Yeah.
Back of the car dealership inflatable. Daniel. That is it. It was very pretty. It was very pretty to look at the starfish, but a car dealership inflatable. Yes, that's exactly what it felt like at the end. I even said that. I was like, what, are they fucking kidding me with the starfish? I mean, just because something works in the comic doesn't mean it'll translate onto screen. And I don't.
Look, I'll give James Gunn one thing. It's at least he tried, right? But it didn't work. It actually didn't work. And you are right. Just because they work in the comics, absolutely spot on, doesn't mean that it's going to work or translate well on the big screen. Now, I am pissed at Peter Capaldi's appearance in this movie. Because in fairness, he could have been the main villain in this whole movie. We could have gave him a greater part in this movie. And I think personally, it would have been a better movie. But no, he gets 10 minutes, 4 scenes, and then he's killed. Ridiculous. What a waste of talent. Imagine bringing him in, getting him to do all these interviews. You're thinking he's going to play a big, huge part of this movie. And then it turns out that he's not even in the movie that much. Right? As Idris, his whole motivation is your woman threatens to put his daughter, who's 16, into prison, and if he doesn't go on this mission, she's gonna lock his daughter up. Right? Ridiculous. Polka Dot Man has mommy issues. Rat Girl, I'm just gonna call her.
Too.
It doesn't matter. Rat Girl, she has daddy issues. Idris' character has daughter issues. They all seem to have some underlying fucking trauma or issue as well.
But that is just typical of all of the MCU movies because they're metahumans, so they all have.
Yeah, maybe so.
I mean, I'll give you that, but it just seemed, I don't know, weird how they included it. Like they gave you the bare minimum to explain the character, but you couldn't really get invested in their motivation behind it. Like you just, I don't know, I'm just disappointed.
I know I was really looking forward to this movie. I
was more excited than you.
What?
I was more excited than you.
Yeah, I was still cautiously optimistic though, because we have been. I mean, to me anyway, we've been let down these last few years with movies, and this is just another one to the list. Listen, I'm just gonna say this: the Batman better be good. Because if the Batman is not good, then I think it's game over for DCU, whatever you believe and call it. I think it's done. I think DC have run out of steam already, believe it or not. And they're a couple of years behind Marvel. I think they've run out of steam. I think Marvel has run out of steam as well. I think all of this needs to be put on a bit of a hiatus for a while. We've had 10 good years, and it looks like we're going into the next 10 years. And so far, for me personally, it's been mediocre. It's been mediocre. I don't see them being as big as they were 10 years ago when all of this started off, both Marvel and DC. I hope I'm wrong.
The original Justice League, not the Snyder Cut, the Justice League movie they originally released is a far superior movie than this.
I'd agree, even though I hate that movie and I prefer the Snyder Cut. I would agree with you. I'd actually sit down and watch that movie again, even though it's bad CGI and, you know, it's all over the place. But it's still there's still enough there to keep you engaged. That's the biggest problem with this movie. The biggest problem with this movie is it feels disjointed. He tries, as Cheryl says, he puts words up on the screen and all of this, and then it's 8 minutes later, and then it's like, yeah, all of it, and it does. It really confuses you, right? It's not coherent at all. It's all over the place. I
felt like I needed to join Snoop Dogg in a smoking session before watching it or something, because I feel like
that's maybe what you said after the movie. Would this movie be better if you were stoned? Probably so. Probably
I'm sure it would have been more entertaining.
Stoner movie. Maybe this is a movie for stoners, but I'm being honest with you. You know, I've already seen people out there say this is fantastic. I don't get it. Fair enough. If you think that this movie is great, that's fine.
I'm glad people are enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely thrilled people are enjoying it. I am not one of them.
Yeah. I think people have, though. I think standards have dropped over the last few years, to be quite honest with you. I don't see all the fuss about this movie. And listen, you know, people say, well, you're always giving out about something. But listen, I was really looking forward to this movie. I honestly thought Peter Capaldi was going to get a better.
You're dead accurate. DC most of the time seems to want to try to copy Marvel. It is so blatant. But yeah, I mean, Noel is much more critical about stuff. But as we all know, I'm not. I'm much more accepting and open and tolerant of things. And I don't think I ever set the bar very high because I'm always expecting to be disappointed. So I'm always pleasantly surprised for the most part. But yeah, no, this for me didn't work on a bunch of levels. And like I said, I can't fault. I mean, the script was kind of a shambles. I'll give you that. But like, I can't fault the acting, the synergy between the cast. I mean, I can't fault that kind of stuff. I mean, it was visually lovely to look at.
Yeah.
But it was also distracting. It just,
the cast were let down big time with the script.
Yeah.
The one that came out looking good in this movie was Harley Quinn, was Margot Robbie.
And I will say Amanda Waller, she is a sociopathic, horrible person that only cares about the end, the end result. The ends justify the means in her opinion. She was brilliant in it. Viola Davis nails Amanda Waller. She plays her amazing.
Yeah.
But
go on.
Yeah, I just, but like they even show stuff like with her crew realizing what a shit show she is and how what she's willing to sacrifice, that they take it into their own hands. But you can't even be asked to care. Like you see her at the end and she's being held hostage because Idris is like, well, I'm keeping the hard drive, and if you fucking bother us, I'll release it to the public. She's like, okay. And you're just like, huh.
She did say, she said, I will make a general out of you. Do you remember? Because he said he was no leader. And then she says right at the end, well, I did say I'd make a leader out of you, right? But the best part of that, her character annoyed me. She's a great actress, right? And all the way through the movie, I was just waiting for her to get a smack, right? And then it finally happens. Right? I'm like, okay, yeah, oh yeah. But like that for me, yeah, because like she wanted kids, she didn't give a crap. kids and all, like she didn't give a crap. And I was like, someone just, and I said it out loud, will someone just smack her in the face or something? And then halfway through the movie, she gets, well, the last third of the movie, she gets bleeding, whacked across the head, gets knocked out. And then our people then alert the Suicide Squad where the starfish is, and then they go into full battle mode. But even
It's not going to be any
battle was weak.
It's not going to be any secret that it annoys me when, because we talk about this all the time, when Noel talks during something we're watching, it irritates the shit out of me. And if I miss something, I'm always like, go back, rewind it, or pause it if I need to do something. Last night at probably the halfway point, I mean, it felt like it was 4 hours into the movie at that point, I literally said to him, you know what? Just let it play. I'm going to go run Ted down. You can just tell me if I miss anything. And he will tell you, I never do that during a movie. Never will I be like, no, just let it play. I'm fine. Because it bothers me when we're watching something. Noel's like, yeah, I'm going to go run in the other room. Just let it play. I'll catch up. And I'm like, what? How can you do that? I feel discombobulated when I miss things. And I actually couldn't have been asked. And I was disappointed that he didn't pause it, because I came back and I'm like, great, now there's 10 minutes still I have to watch that I thought I avoided.
Yeah. And then she kept looking at the timer and she go, oh, Jesus, another hour to go. It was one of those movies.
It felt like it was always another hour to go no matter where we were. It literally felt like it was never going to end for me. And not in a good way, not when you're watching something, you're like, oh no, they ended it and it's so great. I would watch a 4-hour movie like that. I mean, maybe this is a movie that they needed to make 3 hours. I don't know, but it felt bad.
But Cheryl, I'll ask you this question. Even if this movie was longer, right, and he added a few more scenes, would it make much of a difference to the movie overall? I don't really think so. I don't
know, because I liked Justice League. I enjoyed Justice League, and I know everyone gives me shit about that. That it's like, really, Justice League? It was crap. And everyone was all about the Snyder Cut. And I will say, when I saw the Snyder Cut, I told Noel, I said, I liked Justice League, but I will tell you that Snyder Cut's a far superior movie. I felt like it really, you got into that. And that was good. But I don't know, would I be willing to watch an extended cut of this? Probably, just so I could be like, oh, it didn't actually suck.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like if you're a little kid and you're excited about meeting Mickey Mouse or something. I don't know if anyone ever watches The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which I do and I love. Is Titus is a singer. He's a Broadway performer, but he hasn't been able to make his break and stuff. And so he's working as one of those people in New York that is a comic book character handing out stuff, but they're not the actual comic book character. So instead of Iron Man, he's like Aluminum Man or something, where it's always like an off-brand kind of thing. You know, like how they have in China with McDonald's, where it's not McDonald's, it's something really close, or the KFC and stuff. And it was kind of like, it was masquerading to be that. It was like pretending to be the superhero movie we wanted. Like, it's like you got, and I'm all for characters that are not well known. I'm absolutely for that. I am 100%. Yeah, I'll be into that. But you got to make me care about them, first of all. And I understand that the metahumans, they're all anti-heroes. They're flawed people, but they do have slivers of humanity, which is the number one thing is if they have a sliver of humanity, you're like, yeah, I can kind of get behind their motivation and stuff. And you could feel stuff like that. This just felt like we're going to try to be a better movie than the Snyder Cut Justice League or something. I don't know where it went wrong necessarily, because I'm not a filmmaker. I mean, I don't work in that. I don't know where it went wrong. I just know that it went wrong.
Yeah, it was really, I'm being honest, it was really filler. 20 minutes of good. That's what it felt like to me. Mostly filler. Then you had a couple of, and again, Harley Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie steals the show in this movie. I have to be honest. I loved every scene that she was in. She's just crazy, like, but even
I actually enjoyed all the scenes with the like the dialogue, and I was with them, but it just didn't work together. You know?
Yeah.
It's like when you invite a bunch of people that you love, like your best friends over, but they all don't really know each other, and they're all so different that like you kind of feel like you're going around from person to person to make everyone feel comfortable. It was kind of like that, like a weird cocktail party.
Yeah.
That you're waiting for your best friend to show up so you're not going to be bored anymore. I don't know. I mean, and I'm Lee, you say about the multiverse. Like, I like the multiverse things. I'm into that. I like the crossovers and stuff if they work. Yeah, Loki. I loved Loki. Absolutely. Loki is so much far superior. And I mean, I think I do like the fact that they're doing these episodic ones because you can't make it into a movie. Like I'm okay with that you're going to stretch out a movie over 12 episodes. I can get behind that if you make me invested in the characters. I have to care about them. I have to want them to be successful. And that was the thing. I think the whole thing with Project Starfish was so weird that you're like, okay, I'm obviously rooting for these guys because they don't have a shot in hell, but I don't really care about why they're going. Like, I guess I could have just watched a movie with them interacting and just being pure banter, and I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Here's a question for you, Cheryl. Would you say then that Loki was better than this movie? And I'll ask you an additional question as well. Do you think this particular movie would have worked better as a series cut over, as you said, maybe 12 episodes, a couple of seasons as well, to get more into each character, develop the characters a lot more, get their backstories, and then, like, when it leads up then to Project Starfish and then the final battle, that's what I felt. It just felt like this movie, a 2 hour and a bit movie, is not good enough to tell this story.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe that's what it was. Maybe there was just so much, like, maybe like Justice League. And I understand where people got pissed off about the original Justice League. And when you watch the Snyder Cut, you're like, yes, this is why we needed it, because it gave you all that extra shit that made you be like super invested. It made the movie make more sense. So I don't know if it was a matter of the timing or whatever, or maybe now we're in this new thing where we're going to release one version and then now we have to release the director's cut. But then don't even fucking waste my time with the original. Don't give me a director's cut if that's the movie you want to release. Release fucking that one and let me watch it. Don't give me a half-ass movie.
Yeah.
So that you can be like, oh, but here's the real movie we wanted to present. Well, give me that. Like, I mean, my God, we're in a pandemic. Most of us have fuck all to do. I've got 5 hours to watch a movie. I've got nothing but time. So
that's it.
I just feel like betrayed by this movie. I feel like that's when you give somebody like $100 or €100 or something. You're like, okay, get me this thing. And you're supposed to get like a cake, it's supposed to be this amazing like wedding cake looking thing. And you get like some Tesco cake where you're like, seriously, that cost me $100. Like, what the shit? Like, I feel like they put together this movie and maybe they had great, and maybe it's because they're going to release this other thing. I can't be asked. You know what? If you're going to start doing that, then I will just wait to watch movies until you release whatever version it was you wanted to release. Don't waste my time with something else. It's not worth it. Don't insult my intelligence as a viewer. And again, I will say this because I know I get shit for it. From somebody who enjoys watching Grease 2, I watch it at least once a year because it may be a shit movie, but it's at least entertaining. It at least
I can't believe I'm saying that. I agree with you.
It keeps me occupied. Like this, I just kept watching it, and my whole thing was I just wanted it to be over. And I don't know how you can't say you enjoy a movie if you're watching it and you're just like, how much longer? How much longer? And it just felt like that because I kept just like waiting for something that would connect to me as a viewer, where I was really, really invested in it. It just fell flat. Like it's like when your mom's like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. That's how I feel. It's not mad about it, I'm just disappointed.
Put it this way, right? I come in this morning, said, let's watch this.
Like I got catfished.
Right? Now, if I had known how bad it was, I would have said, let's watch Grease 2. And I hate that movie. You know I do. I always slag Cheryl off when she says, oh, I love Grease 2, because I always say, well, Grease was better. Right? Yeah. But I'd even sit down and watch Grease 2 and enjoy it a lot more than I enjoyed this movie. Again, we haven't really mentioned that much, but Peter Capaldi, for me, if you're going to get an actor with that, the caliber of him, and you're gonna misuse him. That's what it felt like to me. He wasn't used properly.
No, this felt like a movie where it's like, we're gonna cast big name people, period. Like, it was just a matter of, we just want to have super amazing actors. Like I said, I don't know what the point of giving Nathan Fillion a top billing. And honestly, he was in it for a cup of coffee. You're like, not even like 2 sips of your coffee. I mean, it just, like, the whole original squad that included Harley and Rick that died, right? I mean, like, they gave you a little bit of information about the beginning of them, but I mean, you didn't care. I didn't care about any of them. Can't even remember all the characters. I wasn't fussed. It's like me trying to form a thought right now. It's just discombobulated and chaotic, and it's like when your teacher tells you that you have potential if you'd apply yourself. It's just
yeah, it's just, there's so many flaws to this movie. Again, because
I'm trying to make money now, and don't give me a movie just to make money. Give me a movie that makes me myself.
But here's the thing. Again, Cheryl makes the point, and it is a fair point to make. Every single cast member that was in this did their job.
Yeah.
And were actually good. The script is what let them down.
Yeah.
Big time. Even John Cena, I was worried about him. When I seen the trailer and I seen his stupid costume, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, where are they going with this? But when I watched him in the movie, he was decent. But again, I think he was underutilized. All of them were, except for Harley Quinn. She gets most of the scene. As I said, she steals it. You might as well say that this was a Harley Quinn movie to a certain extent, because I mean, she takes out the president, then she gets captured, right? Then she escapes from that, and then she shoots her way through this whole base, and then the rest of the Suicide Squad that's left alive. Now, the scene outside the building is the funniest bit of the movie for me, right? Because they're going in to try rescue Harley Quinn, right? And then she walks out, right? And they don't notice her, right? And Idra's character is going up the building, right? And next of all, she goes, "What are you doing?" And then, what's his name? Your man, fucking Captain Flair, whatever you bleeding call him.
Rick Flag.
Yeah, Rick Flag, right? He told her, says, "Well, we're here to rescue you." And then she goes, I'll go back into the East King to rescue you.
To save me?
Yeah.
I can go back in.
That was a funny part, right? But again, she had the best scenes in this movie. But I'm just annoyed that you get Peter Capaldi in, right? He said that, James Gunn actually said that he didn't cast him because of Doctor Who, right? Which I don't believe for 1 second anyway. But when you get an actor of his quality in, you give him 10 minutes in a whole movie, and it's framed in the trailers that it looks like he's going to be the main villain. He's not. He's not. You're going to be very disappointed. He actually doesn't make an appearance in the movie until how long in? It's a while. It's a good while before he makes an appearance. And even his first appearance in the movie is he's walking into a bar or so, I think it is, isn't it?
I think they show him briefly before. I don't remember because I wasn't. I couldn't be asked to remember. And yeah, I mean, Grease 2 wasn't probably supposed to be. Maybe that's why I enjoy it, because it's like a cult classic to me. Like it's so bad it's good in a way. Except like this just.
You know what? I will say this though. Someone made the point on Twitter. They've watched the movie themselves, and they made the point that this movie was a bit too dark as well. I'd agree with that. It needed to be more light-hearted. This is Suicide Squad. You know, it should have been a more light-hearted movie, in my opinion. But he goes down this route. I mean, you literally see kids hanging from a rope. They kill the general that ends up being president, then sets fire to a load of birds. At the start of the movie, Michael Rooker's character kills a bird. It's pretty dark, and as I said, King Shark does have one of the best scenes in it, in my opinion, though, where he literally picks some bloke up and he rips him in half, and you see all the entrails and stuff. That part looked impressive, but yeah, I would have to agree. I think this movie was too dark. It needs to be.
Also, I will give my husband credit for always telling me when to close my eyes and when it's safe to open again during scenes. Because, I was sad about the birds.
Yeah, but look, I mean, look, that even the movie's stupid. General after general takes over, and then you end up being killed. It's just, it just seemed like James Gunn and his team.
I couldn't tell if they were trying to be dark or trying to be funny most of the time. Like I said, like the banter between the cast members was actually great. I mean, they really did work well. Like, I can't fault any cast member. I just felt like everyone's talent was wasted on a mediocre, chaotic script.
This is the big mistake that DC made, getting rid of Christopher Nolan, right? If you're going to ask me, if you're going to do a dark Suicide Squad movie, well, then Christopher Nolan, for me, is the director that you get in.
No, you just put up on the screen, right, that we were doing spoilers, right?
I said it right at the start.
Is it not in our title? Is it not in the title?
No.
You need to put that in the title.
Well, here,
I think that if you're going to listen to it, there'd be spoilers, just saying, but yeah.
Well, that's what I said. If you're going to watch this movie yourselves, I'd advise you to leave, because there will be spoilers there. Look, I'm just going to put spoilers down across the screen there, so you know there's spoilers. But
yeah, from now on, just always put it in the title, just because that way no one can be surprised.
Look, at the end of the day,
sorry, Glenn, if we ruined it.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, right? At the end of the day, go and watch the movie yourself. Don't take my word for it. There are people out there that really have enjoyed this movie, but me and Cheryl certainly didn't. And as you know, Cheryl is less critical than I am. And if Cheryl doesn't like a movie, I'm being honest, that's a bad sign, because Cheryl is very open-minded. I mean, as she said, she likes Birds of Prey. She likes the original Justice League. She likes Wonder Woman 1984. And these are movies that fans have panned. She likes them. So, as I said, Cheryl came in with not very high expectations for this movie. So for her to come out,
just watched Birds of Prey.
What?
Especially because I had just watched Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
So that was where my bar was set.
Everyone's
good in it. I can't say there's no one that's bad in it. Everyone is great in it. Everyone is great.
Capaldi is wasted, but when he did talk, when he did have a saying, and he had the big speech, and he was telling the Suicide Squad, you do know the Americans are behind this and all. I'm working for the Americans, and he goes full Scottish, right?
Yeah.
He's brilliant. Peter Capaldi is brilliant. You're not going to get anything but brilliant from Peter Capaldi. The problem is that he's not in the movie enough. He's not in the movie enough. They frame it that he's the villain, right? With the trailers, if you look at it, they frame it that he's the villain, right? But when you watch this movie, he's not the villain. He's not actually in it that enough to be. And then when he dies, you don't give a shit. You don't care. You don't actually care that he's gone. And there is a funny scene where the starfish has him up. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I know. Well, let's calm down, blah, blah. And then he gets ripped apart. Get away. You get someone in like him, you waste them, then you don't deserve to be making movies. I have to say, James Gunn's a fraud. I'm going to say it out straight. He's a fraud.
can't believe he's still making movies. But that's
I actually still, yeah, I agree with you. He shouldn't be anywhere near these movies. He might have done Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the same man that done Guardians of the Galaxy. So how he could do a movie like that and then do this movie, right? And for it to be absolute shit, it just doesn't. I don't get it. Now Zack Snyder and his wife are executive producers on this. I can't believe they put their names on this. To be quite honest, it's I'm sorry. I know people look, maybe fans have lowered their standards, right? But if you compare this to early movies in the DC universe or early Marvel movies, this does not hit any of those standards at all, right? I think I think it's time to put all of this nonsense to bed now for a few years. I think it's run out of steam. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Batman. Now, you all know I'm excited for that. I did a trailer reaction. I love that trailer, even though fans were calling him emo Batman. I don't give a shit, right? I love the trailer. But even now, I'm starting to think that this movie is not going to be very good. But I'll wait and I'll watch it. But the Suicide Squad, if this is what we have to look forward to, if this is the kind of way that they're going to do maybe, then the Batman's going to be crap.
And it's like I told you, this was the reason why it took me so long to watch Birds of Prey, because everyone was bitching about it and talking about how much it sucked. And I hate when people, like, I make a point to not pay attention to anything anyone says until I watch something, because I don't want to be swayed in any way.
Yeah.
I know a shit about spoilers. He's absolute the fucking worst with spoilers. He's always like, I won't give anything away. I'm just saying. And then he'll give you a very detailed thing. He's like, but I won't spoil anything. Like, if you fucking spoiled the whole thing. So it's like I run around with my ears covered. Yeah. I don't hear anything. And ugh. So then I watched Birds of Prey and I'm like, oh crap. They were right. It really was kind of a letdown. But that was such a far superior movie. It just was. And I don't.
That's what I mean. If you're saying that Birds of Prey is better than this, then I think people should listen to you more than me anyway, because
as a rule,
because in fairness, you are definitely more open-minded when it comes to all of these things and what they try to do. But this movie was, I mean, I kept looking at Cheryl Jordan, the movie. She kept looking at the time when this movie was going to end. And even some of the deaths, and I was looking at, for fuck's sake, look at the way he died. It's stupid. Even some of the deaths were ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm telling you now, right? James Gunn should not be allowed near another Suicide Squad movie, right? And if they do haven't planned to do any more, it's the wrong decision.
And the other thing, too, is when I watch stuff, you're not going to hear me get onto this whole female empowerment or, you know, if it's straight white male or anything. Like, I can't be asked to be a part of all that politic crap. I think it's a cop-out. I think people say things because there's other issues at stake. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's how I feel. But I don't think anyone can fault this movie for being, like, quote, woke, which is still, you know, had to be changed because everyone misused it. So I wouldn't say it's woke, and I wouldn't say they present, you know, characters as like white men bad or this. I mean, I wouldn't say that there was anything, but like the people that'll do stuff like that, I can't even fathom that. It just didn't work as a movie.
No, there was none of that virtual signaling going on. You're right. But still, even with none of that going on in the movie, it still wasn't.
And I will stand here and say, Noel will tell you, I will staunchly disagree with just about anyone that says something's virtue signaling for the most part. Now, I will say there was a lot of it in this current debacle of Doctor Who and stuff. But for the most part, I don't pay attention to that because I think it's a cop-out. I think people use it as a cop-out to hide their own issues. I don't think a lot of the people ranting about shit really think a movie's bad. They're just mad because of some other bullshit that I can't. Exactly. I just can't be worried about that. This isn't even a movie that people can come out for or against on either side, whether you're super right wing or you're super left wing or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. None of that matters if you watch it. Just as the movie itself, there wasn't any of that bullshit to be, freaked out about it. It's an old thing. Like, there's a corrupt government, and people are risking their lives and find out the government's like, that's just a typical movie trope. That's not a woke thing or anything like that. It just felt discombobulated. It just felt like it was trying too hard to be something that it never quite lived up to the expectations of. It's like getting, a half-eaten meal. You're just like, oh, well, I mean, the part that I ate was fine, but I would have enjoyed, people not have eating my food for. Yeah, it was absolutely boring. I have never looked at the timer.
Yeah, that's the biggest
issue. To want it to end. Like, I'll look at a movie timer and be like, how much longer? Because shit's about to go. I'm like, oh crap, there's only 10 minutes left or something. Like, I get flustered about that. This was just a holy crap. How much longer is this movie? I mean, it never felt like it would end.
Yeah, it is boring. It is. That's one of the main issues as well. It's not. It doesn't keep you engaged. See, that's the problem. You felt like you were watching the movie, and you were looking at it, and then you were like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Right, and you'd lose concentration. Yeah. Like, we were lying in bed watching this movie. I halfway through the movie, I just handed the computer to Sharon and said, "Listen, you just hold the bleeding computer now. I'll just stay down and watching it." But this,
I was super annoyed about that.
Yeah, but this, no.
Matter of fact, when the credits started, I rolled over just to go to sleep. He's like, there's going to be an end credit or something. I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. I actually don't care. And I didn't, because I don't, like, it was like, I didn't even need to roll over. I just heard it and was like, okay, great, whatever. And then he's like, oh yeah, no, they saved your man. And I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, they saved the dickhead. I was the peacemaker, and he was a douche. He was a douche. And the fact that they saved it, because I was hoping they'd what's his face was going to be saved instead.
Polka Dot Man.
What?
Polka Dot Man?
No, the other fella. Yeah, I wanted him to survive. Even the way he died was a bit pathetic. There was a bit of a fight scene between those two, which made no sense anyway, as Cheryl had pointed out, because John Cena's character literally took out a lot of people, right? But yeah,
the thing in DC, I noticed much more. DC more than anything, and they did it in Birds of Prey with Harley Quinn's fight scenes too, but they did it here as well with her fight scenes. It's like, I don't know of a situation where you've got a ton of people with weapons, and yet you let somebody fight you one-on-one before you do anything. Like, I don't like, it's always like, whoever's going to fight, they're going to fight this one person, and then the other person will come after she's killed that person or something. It's like, that's not how fights work. The way they did it, where, people are being simultaneously shot with Peacemaker and Bloodsport. So Idris Elba's character and John Cena's character, that's what they should look like. It should be that. It should be, you've got to fight multiple people at the same time. They did it a little bit better in this than they did in Birds of Prey, but still, you're like, don't choreograph a fight scene so she fights 15 people, but one at a time. I want to see her fighting 15 people at once, because it's Harley Quinn. I mean, we know she's unbelievable. In fact, the fact where she took out the guy that was torturing her when the general left. I mean, that's a one-on-one thing. That's when you see that, and it was brilliant and stuff. And they brought in Harley Quinn's aerial abilities and her circus-like skills, because remember, that's what she is. But
I know, but when she was leaping up, I even said, where did she get the superpower from? Because she leaped up from a height that was impossible, though. I don't care if you're an acrobat, right? You're not going to be able to jump that far up, and that was stupid to me. There was James Gunn, I don't think understands these characters, to be quite honest with you. I really don't. Harley, she was the best thing in the movie, but even then, you know, there was a couple of things that as Cheryl's pointed out, you know, Harley, it was like one person comes, she'd defeat that person, and another person would come, she'd defeat that person. It was like, Cheryl is right, like, you know, if you're going to do a scene like that, Harley has to be fighting them all. You know, because she's badass. She has to be fighting them all in. But no, it was just, and then she started doing this fucking weird jump thing where she was jumping way too high. I just didn't, no, I don't know. I know she's an acrobatic and all of that, and she's flexible. But James Gunn got it wrong there with that. The end scene is ridiculous as well, how Starfish gets defeated.
Because actually, not only that, but the Suicide Squads were saved because they covered their face. Like, so basically, all anyone had to do was put their hands over their face, and they were fine.
Yeah, ridiculous.
That's easy enough to stop.
Yeah, it was actually ridiculous. But the funny scene in that was King Shark, right?
Yeah.
He was like covering his face, and I was like shouting out loud, "You don't need to cover your face. You're a shark. It won't get around your face the way it gets around a human face." It was just ridiculous. It was.
I think he was the only character I was sad about when I thought died.
What?
I think King Shark was the only character I really felt sad about when I thought he died.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like, up, that so-and-so's dead. So-and-so's dead. At one point, I thought they fucking killed off Harley Quinn. And I was like, oh, well, I guess she's dead now too. But that's weird. Because, I mean, Margot Robbie, and I'll give it, she said she'll play Harley Quinn as long as they'll keep her in the thing. And I'm 100% on board with that. She has nailed that role. No one else should ever play Harley Quinn. She is hands down the best. I love her.
No, she is Harley Quinn. She is Harley Quinn. She's like the Christopher Reeves of the Superman franchise. She is perfectly cast as Harley Quinn. She gets the character.
Yeah.
She knows how
her flaws, her weaknesses, her strengths. She plays it all really well, and you're invested in her. Like, even though she's basically a garbage person, and she really is, you absolutely 100% root for her every time. You still want Harley Quinn to win. You just do. She plays the right amount of brash and vulnerability with the character. I think Idris Elba did that with his character. You could see the paternal side of him coming out in the movie. And I loved Deadshot. I loved Will Smith's character when he played in Suicide Squad. I mean, that was brilliant. So you could see that. Like, I didn't dislike any of the characters. I just, for some of them, I just couldn't get connected to them. And again, that first squad, when all of them died, I think the first comment I made was, well, I don't really like Pete Davidson, so I'm glad he's dead. But like, I didn't care. I absolutely didn't care.
Thumper annoyed me right when he's on the airplane.
Who the fuck was Thumper?
And Thumper dies like
Thumper?
What?
Who is Thumper?
That was his name. That's what Harley Quinn was calling him. The fella with the New Zealand accent that I said I didn't like him.
Oh, Javelin.
No, not Javelin. The other
There
fella.
was no Thumper. No.
She doesn't even remember. It was Thumper.
No,
it was the other fella. He was wearing the big long coat. Do you remember?
Yeah,
He was sitting opposite.
I'm looking up the cast right now. I disagree that I'm going to be like Harley Quinn saying there was no Milton. I'm gonna like, no, there was no one named Milton. Just no. I'm gonna argue with you like Harley Quinn did. No, there was no character named that. Let me look. Hold on.
Hang on, there was Thumper. I think his name was.
No.
Yes.
Okay, the original people that died. Savant died. TDK, Captain Boomerang, Javelin, Mongol, Blackguard, Weasel. There is no one.
Well, she called him Thumper. He might have had
a name, but his name was. There's no one named Thumper. That's why you keep saying.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway. He was crap, and he gets killed in it. And I actually
the one she took the javelin from.
Actually, the first Suicide Squad that went in the decoy didn't give a shit that they all died. To be quite honest with you, really didn't, because there was no build up. This movie just goes straight into the action. It was like as if, as Cheryl had said, you'd went into this movie 10 or 20 minutes in, and it just yeah, it was just the four. I didn't give a crap. You waste a character like you waste an actor's ability like Michael Rooker. You bring him into the franchise, right, and then you literally kill him off in the first few minutes of the movie, right? Nathan Fillion, kill him off straight away.
Like, seriously, I don't even know what the point of listing. They could have been an uncredited cameo. I mean, they had slightly more screen time than Brad Pitt did in Deadpool 2.
Yeah, yeah. I give this movie. I've been thinking about it. So I gave the old Suicide Squad. For me, didn't I said 5? Didn't I? 5 out of 10. I'd give this one a 2, and that's being generous.
3.5. Wait a minute, James. Oh man, now I'm extra mad. James Gunn is from St. Louis. Oh, that's disappointing. Now I have another stain on my city.
Yeah. He shouldn't have done this movie. He shouldn't have been allowed to do this movie. By the way, this movie probably would have went. The way they test screened this movie. If this movie was test screened, I don't know who was watching the movie. To be quite honest with you, they must have got in a bunch of 5-year-olds or something. Because this movie, I'm very disappointed.
I'm actually so disappointed. I have nothing else to say. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm gonna make my dinner because I'm bored of it.
Not about it.
Yes, it's just disappointing.
Cheryl,
yes.
Rate the movie. What would you give it out of 10?
I'm going to be generous. I'll give it a 4.
Right. Yeah, that's actually one less than what you gave it last night. So even after thinking about, because I think you gave it a 5.
I did.
Yeah. So you've dropped another point since last night. Because you realised how bad it is now. Because we've had time.
I actually went back to IMDb and I changed my rating for the original Suicide Squad and made it higher because I rated this one lower.
Yeah.
That's how much I didn't like it.
I think there is a burnout. I think you're right to fix so on. I think that's what's happening here. I think we've had 10, 11 years of this. And I think these movies I think they're slowly burning out. I think fans have had their fill. Another thing I will say,
started with Harry Potter when they started this bullshit of stretching movies out into like 2 parts and sequels and stuff. And I think that's where it really started to fall apart when we insist on making one movie spread out over, or like 3 movies spread out kind of thing. And it's like, okay, but you need to be able to see something standalone. And I just feel like this felt short of the mark. I don't know.
Yeah. I personally think Christopher Nolan could have given us something sensational with this movie, Suicide Squad. I really do. I don't think James Gunn was the right director for this. The script was pretty weak. As I said, and I'm going to shout it to the rooftops, Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie was the star of this movie. She was every scene that she was in. I was happy. I had a smile on my face. She kicked ass, but even with some of those fighting scenes, it was problematic. But because it's just her performance. And look at all the actors and actresses that were in it. The performances were great.
Yeah.
They're just let down by this horrible script. But it seems out of all of them, Margot Robbie's character, Harley Quinn, seemed to get the best lines and the best scenes in this movie. And that was and that's why I'm disappointed. Not disappointed because she stole the show. I'm disappointed because you bring in someone like Peter Capaldi, you frame it in the trailer like he's going to be the main villain of this movie, and then he only appears in 10 minutes of it. 10 minutes. Right? What a waste. What a waste. Do you know what? I'd even go as far as to say that if Peter Capaldi had a hand in writing this movie, it would have been so much better. So much better. I'm being honest.
Actually, I kept saying during it, I felt like it was a Doctor Who episode, except for the violence with the starfish. I mean, it just was so jarring. And again, you shouldn't, if you're going to make the movie mainstream comic book, then you have to make sure people understand and believe the characters you have in it.
Here's the thing, right? I'm gonna say this, right? Would I encourage people to watch this movie? Absolutely not. I'm not going to encourage anybody to watch this movie. If you want to waste 2 hours of your life, go ahead. But at the same time, I will say, don't take me and Cheryl's word for it. You know, there are others out there that are praising this movie. This movie might be your cup of tea, right? It might be. But for me, it just feels like
somebody's enjoying it.
I think fans have lowered their standards a little bit because, you know, that's what I think has happened. But everything about this movie that I was looking forward to just didn't happen. Peter Capaldi wasted, as I said. And even Idris, to a certain extent, yeah, he had a good character arc. But for me, there wasn't enough of him, enough of him. You know, as I said, Harley kind of steals the show. It was like they all got kind of uneven screen time as well. And the starfish thing, and I will say this, right? If you're going to make movies like this, I think James Gunn and people behind the DC Universe and Marvel as well, we'll talk about Marvel as well, they need to understand, right? I don't read comics. Never have, never will, right? Because at the time when I was a kid growing up, my family couldn't afford them. So I never got into comics. What these people need to realize is that, okay, you want to kind of bring the people in that follow the comic books. I get that, right? But you've got to understand that there's a large majority of your audience that don't read the comics, right? They just don't. And that's the reality, right? So when you're bringing in Project Starfish and the Starfish, right? Unless you've read the comics, you don't know anything about the origins of that starfish and all of this other. Even the origins of it was pretty weak in this movie.
Which is fine if you're going to do that, as long as you explain it to people that aren't in the know. I mean, it's wonderful for people that are huge comic book enthusiasts and diehard fans that they get those Easter eggs. I mean, we all love that. We love it when we're watching Doctor Who and there's some like inside joke to like the classic series and stuff like that. Like, I'm all for that, but you have to make sure that the people that don't get all the jokes can still be invested in the movie. So
exactly. I don't know. Whether they like it or not, these movies have to appeal to a mainstream audience as well as obviously the fans, right? And I get that, but I just felt that James Gunn got it wrong on every single level. I actually can't believe he was allowed to make this movie anyway with all the stuff.
I feel like today's weather is exactly how I felt about the movie. It's not cold, it's overcast, and it's just doing that spitting, misting rain that's annoying as shit, and it just keeps randomly starting. And you're just like, fuck, I don't want to go out in it, but if I have to go get something, I guess I will. Like, it's just
a starfish from outer space.
I just don't even know what else there is to say about it.
I mean, I thought that was ridiculous. A starfish from outer space, right? They don't explain the origins really, right? Then you see a bunch of astronauts, right, being actually highly unprofessional and not taking the safety. They literally bring this starfish on board, right, and start taking selfies with it, and then it releases the face huggers, and then they all end up being taken over. But it was ridiculous. James Gunn should never have been allowed near this movie. As I said, for me, the biggest mistake that DC made was not letting Christopher Nolan oversee this whole universe. He did the Batman trilogy, which, let's be honest, folks, we all say that the Batman trilogy, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, okay, the last movie didn't live up to our expectations, but it was still good enough, right? He should have been the man to oversee this whole universe, right? But they decided not to go with him, especially after Man of Steel. He was a producer on that, even though Zack Snyder was the main player in that. But Christopher Nolan, in my opinion, should have been the one to oversee this whole universe. And I think DC are paying for it right now. I think they are. DC movies for me have been hit and miss over the years anyway. I think Marvel have been more consistent. Whether people agree with that or not, that's my opinion. I think they have been more consistent, but even they're starting to run out of steam. I think DC ran out of steam after Wonder Woman. I don't think they've done a decent movie since then, to be quite honest with you.
Yes, hardest time for being completely dead ass serious. It's a space starfish. The Thinker is the main bad guy, but you don't really.
Well, he's supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, he's the mastermind behind it all.
He's supposed to be, but he doesn't get. As I said, Peter Capaldi is wasted. He should have been in this movie from the beginning. Actually, the way this movie should have started, in my opinion, it shouldn't have started with them going onto the island. It should have started with Peter Capaldi showing them doing experiments and stuff, and then explaining how this starfish ended up on Earth and stuff like that. But they didn't do that. They didn't do that. It's like near the end of the movie, he shows them the lab, and then he's literally dead a couple of minutes later. It was just a starfish. By the way, a starfish. I even said it. I even wrote.
It might as well have been Patrick from SpongeBob. It might as well have been.
Absolutely.
Hi, Charlotte.
A starfish. Like, I'm sorry, I don't read the comics. I'm not interested in seeing a starfish from outer space then doing an alien kind of face hugger thing. No, that's not. No, I don't want that. There should have been Peter Capaldi should have been the main fucking villain here, right? And he wasn't. And an absolute disgrace. I tell you, I'm not watching anything from James Gunn anymore. I'm not. I'm done. Isn't he doing Guardians of the Galaxy? I don't even trust him now with that movie. He shouldn't. In fairness, I'm not saying he should have been cancelled, but when it came out about the tweets that he put out, he shouldn't be working. He shouldn't be working. He should never been allowed near this franchise.
But he is, and yet we're still watching his movies, so we can't really.
Well, yeah, but I don't think personally he should have been allowed near this movie. You know, even a Zack Snyder Suicide Squad, if he was to direct this, I'd say it'd be better because he'd give us a lot more detail, like he did with his Justice League, the Snyder cut. This movie, look, here's the thing. Cheryl says if you're going to do an extended cut of this movie, right, bring it out in a couple of months' time, right? There's no point. You should have showed the extended cut. That's the cut that you wanted to show. If there were scenes that were left out of the original, the original release, well then, I'm sorry, you're being disingenuous with fans, right? If the movie is 3.5 hours long, it's 3.5 hours fucking long. Shows the movie, right? It showed that with the Snyder cut, that fans are willing to sit down and watch a 3.5 hour, 4 hour movie. And as Cheryl has rightly pointed out, you know, we're in a situation around the world where we're not able to do all the things that we're with, so we have a lot of time on our hands, right? So I would have watched a 4 hour version of this movie if it had explained a lot more. But even that said, it was
a giant
boring. It was boring. It was jarring. And as I said, there were just certain characters in it were underutilized, and others did steal the show. And I just look, I was I'm so disappointed. I wanted this movie to be everything that I thought it was going to be. Even Cheryl did, you know. And Cheryl goes in with pretty low expectations. That way, like, you know, because she's not like me. She won't look at spoilers. She won't. And even with this movie, I didn't. I kept away from spoilers, but I was seeing tweets of people saying that this movie was fantastic. So because I'd seen a couple of tweets, and I was watching Turner and Hooch last night, and then I could hear that Cheryl was snoring in the room. So I sent her, "Do you want to watch the Suicide Squad?" And I have to say,
my initial thought was that I didn't want to watch
Cheryl. I'm sorry for putting you through that. If I hadn't known it was that bad, I wouldn't have put you through that. I mean, look,
I even did say, though, I don't think my watching it with you had anything to do with it, because you didn't say anything. And I completely believe that if I would have watched this on my own, I'd have the exact same opinion, because I felt that way when I watched Birds of Prey. It was just,
yeah, I didn't really.
We're 100% saying, yeah, we we could get behind the space starfish if the rest of us knew what the fuck all was going on. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nothing really else to say about it, is there?
No, we're actually done. But what I will say to you is this: if you still were in mind to watch this movie, don't let me and Cheryl's review put you off. I would
No,
suggest.
because clearly a lot of people are enjoying it according to IMDb. These people are rating it 9s and 10s. So
Yeah.
you know
So
what? I love that for them. I love that people are enjoying it. I love
look,
it.
yeah, I will say that if people did really genuinely enjoy this movie, fair play to us. It wasn't my cup of tea. And if you still do plan on watching it, don't let our review influence you. This is why I kind of said if you haven't watched the Suicide Squad, don't watch this stream until after you watch it, because I don't want to influence anybody out there. But for me personally, this movie was garbage. It belongs in the garbage bin. It should never have been made with James Gunn anyway. And Peter Capaldi, very disappointed. You know, we've waited a long time to see Peter Capaldi in something since Doctor Who, something sci-fi. This was his chance to shine, and he didn't get that chance. And I'm very bitterly.
No, 10 minutes he was in it. He was brilliant.
Yeah, but he was underused, man. He was underused.
I mean, yeah.
Sunday, very bitterly disappointed. But look, you know, as I said, if you're gonna watch it, watch it. Don't let me and Cheryl influence you. Just like I'd say with the other streamers out there that will be doing their reviews, they'll obviously say that I've already seen some. This movie is brilliant. At the end of the day, make up your own mind, because we all do have different tastes. Some of you in this chat might actually enjoy the movie, and some of you may agree with us. But for myself and Cheryl, and it's not very often that we agree on the movie being bad. But we're in agreement with this. It was.
No, we were talking about that earlier. I loved the first Suicide Squad movie. I don't have any hate for it. I enjoyed Avengers Endgames and Loki and all of that. This just ugh.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to leave it there, because we've said everything that we need to say. But look, yeah, I mean, at least Peter Capaldi got paid. Yeah, Daniel, this time. I will say that at least he did get paid. But if you're going to bring in an actor as good as Peter Capaldi, and we know how good he is, right? And you underuse him, it's a crime. It's a crime against filmmaking. It was framed that he was the main villain in the trailers, and that's what I'm pissed off about. I feel like I've been cheated by James Gunn. I do. I feel like I've been cheated. And you know, that's it. You know, I'm not. From now on, I'm not going to pay attention to trailers that much anymore. Just watch the movie and see for myself, because a lot of these trailers are tricking people. Even those that say that trailers click and bait and all of this rubbish. This is what this felt like to me, a click and bait trailer, making it look like that Peter was going to be a big part of this movie, and it turns out he wasn't. And I'm going to leave it there, because we've kind of, but Cheryl will add her final thought, but then I'm just going to leave it there, because, you know, we've said everything we need to say, and I'm fucking bored talking about it now, because it was a boredom film.
Yep. 4 out of 10 for me. Like I said, the cast was amazing. That everyone worked. It had witty banter. It was funny and stuff. There were parts of it that were great. Like there were 20 minutes, not consecutive, but 20 minutes. Probably I was super invested, and the rest of it couldn't be asked. So,
I agree.
So on that's where I stand.
Yeah. And as I said, if you are still planning on watching this movie, go and watch it. Look, I will. Go and watch it and make up your own mind. Look, because, you know, we all do have different tastes, but I am baffled by the amount of love that this movie is getting. I have to be honest with you. I, like Cheryl, was looking forward to this movie. Now, Cheryl was a bit more excited than I was, but I was so much looking forward to seeing Peter Capaldi in something other than Doctor Who, and it didn't do it for me. He was underutilized, and you know,
this is why the expression "with great power comes great responsibility" exists, because you can't take something this awesome and just fling it together. Like I said, it was just like somebody got crazy in the spice aisle and put everything in their meal, and it's overpowering in places and bland in others.
Yeah.
So on that, I'm going to say goodbye because now I'm going to.
You can go and say goodbye now. I just have to make a few more announcements and then.
So bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to us complain for an hour or so about a movie that I won't ever watch again. So it's a bye for me. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's look, I think we've said everything that we need to say. But I will be back later tonight. We do have our show back contact. We're going to have a bit of fun. So while people are in the chat, just to let you know, if you want to join me tonight on the panel, have a bit of fun, right? We're not going to be talking anything negative. This is a fun stream contact that we do. So if you want to join me for that, and you want to be on the panel, if you follow me on Messenger or you follow me on Twitter, send me a DM and let me know if you're interested on coming on the panel tonight. We start at 7 and we finish at 10. It's a 3-hour live stream. We always do 7 to 10 when we do these Friday night streams. So if you want to join me, send me a DM either in a Messenger or as I said, Twitter, and we'll get you on and we'll have a bit of a laugh tonight, because after last night's shit show or early morning shit show, I need a laugh. So come and join me for that. And then the weekend we have classic and new Who watch-alongs as well. But listen, this movie, I was disappointed. But look, I won't say don't go and watch it. Look, if you want to still go and watch this movie, go and watch it. You might enjoy it. And maybe people out there that are into the comic books will enjoy this more. But I really didn't. And I have to say, very, very disappointed in Peter Capaldi's the fact that he wasn't in it enough for me. He was framed that he was the main villain in the trailers, and not the case. So I'm going to leave it there. I want to thank everybody that has popped in today. I wanted to do this stream straight away while we still had everything fresh in our heads. So that's our review of the Suicide Squad. And as I said, if you're still going to go and watch this movie, I would go and watch it and see what you think yourselves. But this is our review. We didn't like it. Let's hope they can do better next time. But I think all these franchises now, I think DC and Marvel, I think they're running out of steam. I think they need to be put on a break. But they won't. They'll continue to do them. And we'll just have to hope that the quality improves, but I don't see it happening. And that's just my opinion. And Chris says, I had a feeling Capaldi would be wasted. He was. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Peter Capaldi fan. He truly was. And if you go and actually see the movies ourselves, you'll be actually sickened by how much he's in the. He's not even in the movie that much. It's just, look, I've said all I need to say about it. I'm gonna leave it there because I'm talking in circles now. But Peter Capaldi was underused. It's right. Listen, I'll catch you later on. Don't forget 7 to 10. We have contact. We're back. Fun stream. So if you want to join me, as I said, send me a DM either on Messenger or on Twitter. Let me know if you're interested in coming on the panel, because we're not going to have the debacle that we had when we launched it a few weeks back with the trolls. So if you want to come on to guarantee that there's no nonsense going on, send me a DM. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to thank everybody. Thank you for all coming in and listening to us. We really appreciate it. We know it's a bit early for you all, but thanks a lot. And we will talk to you later on. See you later. Bye-bye, folks. Have a good day.